The anime kicks off when Tuya wakes up in what seems like a knockoff version of heaven. Out of nowhere, goof-up grandpa shuffles over, admitting he made a major blunder by accidentally zapping Tuya with a death ray meant for Earth. Realizing he can't undo his huge mistake, the old man decides to send Tuya to an entirely different world. But first, he offers him one wish. Tuya, ever the millennial, asks if he can keep his smartphone. I mean, how else is he going to keep up with his TikTok dances? Grandpa, being out of touch with modern tech but wanting to appease, says, sure. Tuya lands in a meadow. His phone buzzes. It's Gramps, now saved under the contact, the Almighty God. He's added a fancy schmancy GPS so Tuya won't get lost. But before he can dive deep into that, panic strikes. His cash is as useful as Monopoly money here. Just then, a guy suddenly jumps out of his carriage, clearly eyeballing Tuya's out-of-this-world getup. He waves a wad of cash, probably thinking it's the latest trend from Paris or something. Mr. Fashion Desperate drags Tuya to his boutique, which looks like a medieval thrift shop, to get him a change of clothes. Inside the dressing room, he notices that Tuya has even funkier clothes underneath. Right away, he offers even more gold to Tuya. With a heavy pocket, Tuya tries to find a place to sleep but can't understand the old-fashioned signs. No worries. His smartphone, which now functions like a medieval Google Translate, reads them out loud for him. But as he's making his way, he comes across some low-life goons harassing two beautiful women. It seems these thugs are trying to avoid paying for a fancy crystal horn. Tuya offers to settle the bill and, just for the fun of it, throws a stone to shatter the precious item. The thugs are furious, but they're unaware that our hero Tuya has a few divine tricks up his sleeve. Tuya shows those goons who's boss, leaving them eating dirt. He then flashes some gold to the ladies for their now crushed bling. Turns out these women aren't just any damsels, they're twin sisters, Elsa and Linza. And wouldn't you know it, they're bunking at the same inn as Tuya. How convenient, right? Tuya waltzes into the inn, probably feeling like the new kid on the block. He hangs with the twins, plotting the next day's grand adventure to find a job. Oh, and surprise, he can't survive without Wi-Fi. Yep, the guy dives into his phone, maybe watching cat videos or something. He nudges the sisters for some help. Being the sweethearts they are, they suggest a thrilling quest. Wolf hunting! Armed with a newbie guild card and probably the least intimidating weapon in stock, Team Tuya sets out. They breeze through the dangerous mission of facing down 5 wolves. The twins, starstruck by their hero, are all, thank you, and offer to teach him to read. But our man Tuya has bigger dreams. He wants magic lessons too. The twins cook up a plan involving colorful stones to see what magical he's got. Linza shows him how she uses the blue stone to make a water fountain. Elsa can't do anything with that stone since it's not compatible. When Tuya tries the blue, he unleashes an impressive water jet. They want to try other stones now. As Tuya tests them, they all react to his power. The girls are amazed, never having met someone with an affinity for all elements. There is only one left, the neutral gray magic stone that manifests uniquely in each person. Tuya also activates it with an unfamiliar spell, opening a portal to the forest where they hunted. The stunned sisters can't believe Tuya can use others' spells. Later, the innkeeper asks Tuya to suggest a new recipe to a friend who owns a restaurant, since he may know exotic dishes as a traveler. Tuya used his phone to search for an ice cream recipe, and with his magic, they could use ice. In the end, everyone enjoyed the magnificent dessert, and Tuya felt like he had thanked the girls in a way for teaching him magic. The team of 3 headed for the royal capital to deliver a letter, but since the journey was very long, they had to take breaks along the way and spend nights at inns. At one of their stops, they saw some people arguing, and in the middle of the fight was a girl dressed as a samurai. When a man tried to attack her, she showed she could defend herself very well. Tuya recognized she was using jujitsu techniques, but the samurai was running out of energy from hunger. So Tuya and his team stepped in to help her escape. The samurai is Ye, from the kingdom of Ashen. She told them she was traveling to practice her martial arts, and since she had lost all her money, the gang invited her to eat. Ye had a voracious appetite and coincidentally intended to go to the capital like them. They quickly added a new member to their travels as Tuya kept learning magic. This time, Lindsay gifted him a book compiling tons of neutral magic spells. However, these kinds of collections were always put together by amateurs, and most of the spells seemed useless since they allowed simple things like curling hair, making dogs friendly, or lifting tea leaves. Finally, Tuya found one that seemed good. It summoned objects. He tried invoking a katana first, but had no success, so then he tried a lighter object, managing to summon the samurai girl's hair ribbon. Tuya really liked the spell since he could summon the girl's underwear, but the really bad thing would be if he took advantage of stealing jewelry or money. However, the boy promised that he would never dare to do something like that. He kept reading the spells and found one that let him enhance his senses to perceive further things. Testing it out, he smelled blood in the air and they immediately went to investigate. Up ahead, some soldiers were being attacked by monsters. The team confronted them with their skills. Tuya tried out a spell to reduce friction and made the mage summoning the monsters slip. The grateful soldiers had survived, though they lost some men. Then they heard a girl screaming as her butler was gravely injured. Linz couldn't heal him since an arrow tip was stuck in his chest, and closing the wound with it inside could kill him. But then Tuya demonstrated the true usefulness of the spell he learned. He summoned the arrow tip to his hand, allowing the healing magic to work safely. The butler was lame and the girl was Sushi, the Duke's daughter. The girls knelt upon learning this, while Tuya was confused. Turns out the Duke is the highest noble rank, making him an extended royal family. The girl kindly asked they drop the formalities, saying they were her saviors after all. She suggested it may be wise if they escort her back to the palace, which wasn't a bad idea since they were headed to the capital anyway. They soon arrived at the beautiful city known for its lakes and waterfalls. At the palace, the overjoyed Duke welcomed his daughter and even knelt before Tuya in gratitude. Over tea, they learned the Duchess was blind from illness and not even magic could cure her. The only one able to do so was Sushi's grandfather, using a special healing spell, but no one could replicate it. Tuya's friends excitedly pointed him out since he could cast the spell. It was truly incredible when Tuya healed the Duchess, allowing her to finally open her eyes and see her family again. To the Duke, any reward was invaluable. When Tuya went to accept the bag of money offered, he nearly broke his hand. Inside were platinum coins worth a true fortune. It was too much for the boy who tried refusing, but his reward wasn't limited to that. The Duke gave each of them family crests, allowing them through checkpoints and into noble-only places during their journey. Ye joined the team as the fourth member. Walking around the capital, Tuya saw half-beast creatures. He understood that among the semi-humans there were elves, dwarves, beasts, and fairies. They saw a lost beast girl, Alma. Tuya helped her with his phone to find her sister, the beast girl Olga. Then they separated to go shopping, and at sunset, they met again. The last one was Tuya, with a white coat to increase magical resistance against compatible elements. Fortunately, Tuya was compatible with everyone. After returning, Tuya discovered that at the inn he had become obsessed with a shogi game created by himself through the spell. He also gave more recipes to the restaurant, which sold pastries in high demand. She bought it for everyone, and even asked Tuya to take one to the Duke. With his spell, Tuya could open doors and go to the capital whenever he wanted. Another day, the team chose a mission in the capital. Tuya suggested defeating the monsters, but all the girls objected. He could not help imagining them covered in a sticky substance, but they ended up fighting a creature in the ruins where the girls felt curious about possible treasures. Tuya used a spell that allowed him to track whatever he wanted, but he didn't detect anything. So he tried looking for historical relics. This time, the spell indicated the location of a large object. Linza opened an entrance with her fire magic and they entered a dark dungeon. As they went deeper, Elsa and Yae hid behind Tuya, fearful that a ghost might appear. First, they found a huge wall of writings that they could not decipher. Tuya took photos with his phone to save them. As they continued exploring, they came across a charmed stone that could be activated with mana, but this could be a trap. Inside was the object they were looking for, but they also did not know what it was. Suddenly, the huge object shone and showed the appearance of some kind of giant beetle. The scared kids quickly escaped. They returned to the surface of the ruins, hoping that the beast had been locked up, until a red light illuminated the rubble, and beneath it a creature appeared. Linza used her fire magic to attack, but the beast simply absorbed her powers. Ye tried, but could not do anything either. Tuya used the spell to make the creature slip and asked Linza to also use her magic. A huge ice block crushed the insect, and Elsa took the opportunity to attack the weakest area of its legs to immobilize it, but it was too soon to declare victory, as the creature regenerated and launched some long-range blows that ended up piercing Elsa's body. Tuya used healing magic to cure her, and after meditating a bit on the monster's characteristics, he came up with a strategy. Tuya invoked the core that shone inside the insect and threw it to Elsa so that she could destroy it with a kick. With that, the body turned to dust. As they were in an ancient capital, they notified the Duke. Tuya showed him photos of the interior and promised to give him a written copy. The Duke hoped to uncover the mystery of the capital's relocation since those records had been lost. But there was always time for more adventures. The Duke sought out Tuya to save the Poisoned King. Some nobles opposed the alliance with the Kingdom of Mismet, which would give the princess a chance to find a husband when ascending to the throne. Upon arriving at the palace, a count was accused of attempting to kill the ambassador from Mismet, but the Duke wouldn't let it be resolved so easily. When they entered the king's chambers, the princess looked at Tuya, but there was no time to lose. The boy quickly used a spell from the Duke's father-in-law, and the king's servants couldn't hide their surprise. Immediately, the king opened his eyes and was welcomed by his daughter's arms. The Duke introduced Tuya as the young man who cured his wife of blindness. Then the king's servants introduced themselves as the general and royal sorcerer, very interested in Tuya's abilities. But he evaded the subject. The princess thanked him for saving her father and asked if he liked younger girls. But their conversation was interrupted when the king got angry upon hearing they were accusing Mismet just to get them out of the way. Unfortunately, there were witnesses that the king fainted after drinking wine brought by the ambassador. With no other option, they had no choice but to investigate. But it turned out to be Olga, the sister of the lost girl that Tuya helped find her way. Beyond his surprise, Tuya wanted to keep investigating, so he asked the king to see where he was poisoned. While there, Tuya used a spell to find the poison, and with that clue, asked the general to gather everyone present at the dinner, including the count who accused the ambassador. Then Tuya brought out wine to prove it wasn't poisoned. First, he gave some to the general to taste. Then he grabbed the king's cup and poured more wine, asking the court to drink from it. Since the wine had no poison, he had no reason to refuse. After drinking, the count writhed in pain, screaming he had been poisoned, until Tuya said he had already removed the poison from the cup, so the count incriminated himself. When he tried to escape, Tuya made him slip. Meanwhile, the blushing princess couldn't take her eyes off the boy. Even while having tea, she kept staring at him, so the little girl gathered all the courage she had to face her parents and asked them to finally allow her to marry Tuya, who could only spit out his drink wide-eyed. The king only asked why she wanted to do it, and his daughter assured that Tuya could make people happy. The parents didn't hesitate to give their approval, and even the Duke got excited, but Tuya couldn't believe they accepted something so important just like that. They explained they fully trusted in their daughter since she possessed mystical intuition eyes. Facing Tuya's protests over the sudden engagement, they simply proposed giving him at least 2 years to get to know her better, and if after that time he still objected, they would leave him alone. Tuya couldn't believe what was happening. Then he got a call from God, congratulating him on his marriage, which he found funny. The old man recommended enjoying the opportunities his new life offered, since in that world it was normal to have multiple wives. The princess assigned Tuya's team to go on adventures with him while they got to know each other better. She also asked him to call her Yumina, embarrassing him in front of his friends. The girls figured if Tuya married the princess, he would be king someday. So Yumina blushed, thinking their children would be the heirs. Everyone thought they would have to protect Yumina, but she was well-trained and could summon beasts and use magic, being very helpful on the mission. Tuya didn't miss the opportunity to ask her to teach him summoning. In his experiment, he attracted a powerful white emperor, an enormous tiger that would only make a pact if he had enough mana. She touched the tiger to show her mana level but went overboard, and the creature fainted from the impact, so it couldn't reject Tuya as its new master. To seal the pact, he was baptized Kohaku. He wanted to accompany his master at all times, so he took on a small form similar to a stuffed cat, and the girls couldn't help but hug him tenderly. The girls went sadly to their next mission of fighting against the monster. Tuya tried to encourage them with excitement since his perverted side always wanted to see them fighting those creatures. Upon arrival, an object fell on Tuya's head, which transformed into a slimy, transparent slime. They were surprised since it wasn't known that slimes could change shape. They would have to investigate it. In a library, they found a book on slimes and wanted to keep investigating, unlike Yae and Linza who cried to leave. Further ahead, they found green slimes that disgusted the girls even more. Using Linza's fire magic would be dangerous, so Kohaku attacked with a roar that did no damage. The group fled up the stairs and realized that the slimes were not chasing them, They assumed the slimes were unable to leave their territory. However, they couldn't let their guard down, as further ahead, white slimes were releasing a slippery lotion, causing them to fall down the stairs. This led them to green slimes that began tearing their clothes. Tuya saved the girls by leading them through a door that took them upstairs, causing the slimes attached to them to release their grip and return to their territory. However, the girls' clothes were ruined, exposing parts of their bodies to a flustered Tuya, who was hit for looking at them. After covering up with some fabrics, the girls were so angered that they wanted to eliminate all the slimes at once, prompting them to set the entire castle on fire. Later, they saw sculptures of scantily clad women. Yumina scolded Tuya for staring at them, but one object melted to the floor and transformed into a pink slime. Linza read in a book that these creatures like to attach themselves to women's breasts. When the creatures tried to approach, the princess attacked them in anger, stating she was still growing. They continued searching until they found a room with a man's corpse who had experimented with the slimes. Tuya read the scientist's diary, which expressed no regrets. Then 4 slimes appeared, mimicking the silhouette of a naked girl, causing great embarrassment. The girls rushed to cover Tuya's eyes so he couldn't see. In the end, they truly set the castle ablaze to purify it from all perversions. Tuya decided to experiment with some spells on his smartphone and managed to use a camera to see through the wall where Linza was changing clothes. He felt embarrassed and for a moment thought of doing something bolder, but he had to hide his phone when Linz entered his room. The girl showed him a scroll she bought to learn spells, but it was in an ancient language, so Tuya created glasses that allowed him to read the scroll with ease. Linza was so thrilled that she wanted to practice the spells right away, but she trained so much that she fainted from exhaustion. Since the girl continued to practice until she exhausted all her magic, Tuya decided to use a spell to transfer his energy to her, and soon, Linza mastered the spell with excitement. Another day, she tore her gloves in a fight, so Tuya took her to the city to buy new ones. Walking through the streets, a dress caught Linza's eye, and too shy to admit she wanted it for herself, she said it would look good on her sister. But Tuya embarrassed her by telling her she was also beautiful, and ended up buying the dress as a gift for her. When she showed it to her friends, they all wanted to empty Tuya's pockets by buying more clothes. Tuya declined a noble title offered by the king. Instead, he received a beautiful mansion, and the girls, fascinated by the place, were shocked when Tuya said they would live there together. They thought it inappropriate, since it was a gift from the king and assumed he was supposed to live there with his future wife, Princess Yumina. However, Tuya said he genuinely cared for all of them equally, and living together shouldn't be strange. The girls couldn't hold back their blushes and went to explore the mansion to distract themselves. Meanwhile, Yumina realized she had to share her future husband and accepted it without any issues. Kohaku, on the other hand, couldn't believe how clueless Tuya was for not understanding the real meaning behind their words. After a while, the girls came back together to ask Tuya if he genuinely agreed to live all together. They also wanted to make sure he would treat them all equally. Since the boy wholeheartedly agreed, they decided they would live together, and once his feelings became clear, they would uphold an agreement they just made among themselves. However, they told the boy it was a secret. Later, the mansion's servants introduced themselves: the butler, Liam, and the maids Lapis and Cecile. The butler turned out to be the older brother of Sushi's servant, whose life they had saved, so he decided to dedicate the rest of his life to Toya. After that, the Duke entrusted Tuya with the mission to travel to the kingdom of Mismet, for which he would be accompanied by a group of soldiers to protect them along the way. Among the soldiers were Garen, Lion, and Olga, the ambassador of Mismet, with her sister Alma. They would have to cover a long and dangerous distance. Just on the first night, they noticed there were bandits around. Tuya used his smartphone to locate every single one of them. With a few spells he cast through the screen, he managed to paralyze all of them, making their capture easy. Tuya realized that Lion was in love with Olga, and the team decided to help him win her over. In the market, Tuya bought a brooch for Alma and asked the girl to show him one her sister might like. Lion watched it all and ended up buying the brooch when they walked away. Tuya felt satisfied playing the role of Cupid, but when he had to carry Linza because she was hurt, the girls on his team got upset, because he couldn't realize that all of them were interested in him. Before leaving, they saw Olga wearing the brooch Lion bought her. At night, a dragon attacked the village. The team rushed to defend the villagers and fight the gigantic creature that was spewing fireballs. Everyone was able to show off their amazing magical powers, until finally, Tuya managed to bring down the beast. However, they were startled when a new dragon appeared, but all it did was apologize for the havoc its companion had wreaked. The red dragon recognized Kohaku, believing it was him who defeated the beast. However, the white tiger clarified that his master, Tuya, had done it. The creature was surprised and bowed in shame, realizing that Tuya must be strong enough to tame the powerful white tiger. When the dragon left, the girls could barely get over the terror they had just experienced, but they soon had to return to the village to help with the disaster and tend to the wounded. After finishing, Tuya fell asleep from exhaustion, and when he woke up, he was lying on Yumina's legs. The other girls became jealous, but she claimed she had fairly won at rock, paper, scissors to have that honor. Tuya found their bet strange, but they brushed him off saying it was a secret, while Kohaku mentioned it was just a battle among women, leaving the boy even more confused. Liam and Garen were astonished that the boys' team could defeat the dragon on their own and even heal the injured. To top it off, they decided to donate the dragon's goods to use the money for the village's reconstruction. The villagers gifted Tuya a dragon's fang and a strange black dagger they found embedded in its eye. Then Tuya recalled that during the battle, it seemed like someone else had also attacked, and Kohaku confirmed that he felt the presence of another person. Finally, they were able to reach the capital of Mismet, where the king attended them cordially. He was surprised to find out that the very princess was with them, and Yumina handed him a letter from her father, asking to strengthen their alliances. The king learned that Tuya defeated the dragon and became excited at the idea of sparring with him. The boy wasn't so sure about fighting, but the king's subordinates explained that their lord enjoyed facing stronger men, so he shouldn't hold back. The judge recited the duel rules, which would end if either received severe damage or surrendered. As soon as it began, Tuya made the king slip and attacked, stopping his sword just before striking. The man became angry and requested a rematch, prohibiting the use of that spell. Without his best trick, Tuya found it challenging to face him. The Beast King was very fast due to a spell increasing his agility level, but he didn't count on the boy being able to replicate it. Both started fighting so quickly that no one could see them. The Beast King had the advantage of being stronger, but the boy used a spell to multiply his agility and soon defeated him. The ruler was pleased with the battle and invited them to a party that evening. The girls wore lovely dresses, so Tuya wanted to photograph them with his phone. The Beast King was continuously amazed by the boy's abilities, and thinking it was a painting, asked him to make one for him but replicated it on paper. Later, Tuya saw a peculiar teddy bear walking through the corridors.